have done it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. I hope you're still awake after watching that game. Newcastle United 0, Bournemouth 0, or the other way around, because we were away, obviously, at the Vitality Stadium. A bit of a boring game, a bit of a rubbish game. We're going to get stuck right into that, talk about how the game went, talk about key moments of the game. There wasn't a great deal of many key moments, to be brutally honest with you. But we are live today, so make sure you jump in the comments. Let us know what you think about that game. And remember to smash subscribe as well, and let us know what you think as well. And obviously follow the channel, be much appreciated. Right, so let's get stuck in then. So looking at the lineups of the way we played today, that's how we set up. There was loads of changes, actually. The talk before the game was a big buzz, really, about who was in and who was out. So obviously some massive changes. Bruno Guimaraes was out. Joe Linton was out. You can see Lewis Miley came into midfield there alongside Sandro Tonali. Botman and Chow both came back in the back because Cher's got a head injury. It was a back three with Dan Burn in there. The wing backs, Trippier was dropped, Tino back at right back, and Lewis Hall came in left back, which we're all shouting at. And obviously big Nick Voldemar started through the middle as well. And it was a weird formation, really. It was kind of a 5-3-2 type of formation, potentially. I don't know, a 5-2-2-1, I think it was there on Sky. I don't really know what it was, really, but it was a back five nonetheless. And I think the whole point of the game was to kind of stifle Bournemouth, to stop them from playing, to stop their talented players like Semenyo playing. And it did kind of work, to be fair. That tactic did work from Eddie Howe. But the problem was we didn't just stop Bournemouth playing. We kind of stopped playing as well. We didn't really have much of an attacking threat at all. To be honest, we didn't have many chances. There was some nice link-up play with Jacob Murphy and Nick Voldemar with some nice touches, popping it around the corner with Murphy probably being the biggest threat in the first half. He has a couple of chances, gets into the box. I thought Lewis Miley and Tonali looked quite good together in that double pivot. I thought Miley looked after the ball quite well without really offering much of a pass. I think there was a couple of forward passes from him, which is a change from the previous kind of sideways and backwards passing. But it wasn't a great game overall to showcase anybody's ability, to be brutally honest with you. And the longer the game went on, the less chance I really felt they had of scoring. I'm going to just summarize the whole game up, and then we'll just rattle through some of your comments, I think, guys, really. But the big thing for me is probably the penalty shout in the second half. So Nick Voldemar backs in, and the ball kind of breaks to him. It was all very scruffy. It was all very kind of ping pong, pinball wizard ball bouncing around in the boxes. There was never anything really concise, long throws, balls just flying around in the box. There was nothing really good about the Newcastle United's attacking play, really. It was all just very scruffy. So it kind of falls to Nick Voldemar, and he makes a move to get it. Now, the Bournemouth centre-half pulls him. I'm trying to think who that is. I think it was Diakate, I think it was. He pulls him by the shirt, and he gets a fucking fair old slice of his shirt, by the way. He really, really does. Voldemar goes down, and the referee says no penalty. I think it's Rob Jones, says no penalty, right? And VAR come back and back him up as well, no penalty. I've got a real problem with this, right? Now, Newcastle weren't great today. They stifled the play, made it quite negative in terms of the game, but it was one of them smash and grab type games. And if we'd scored that penalty 1-1-0, went back to Newcastle with 3 points, you'd probably say, actually, that's fair play. Shite game, but a good bit of tactical. Now, Eddie Howe, he's done the right thing. He's got a 1-0 victory, and he's gone back to Newcastle, sitting in 7th or whatever in the table. We're now sitting in 13th because the referee gets it wrong. VAR are fucking cowardice and don't want to make a decision to overrule any referees whatsoever. That penalty, I guarantee that exact fucking penalty will either be given in the next game as Man City versus Arsenal, or it will be given next week. These referees, the standards of this referees are shocking in this league, and VAR are utterly fucking pointless. I don't know what they're watching, Netflix, Amazon Prime. They're not watching the game if they don't think that was a penalty. That was utterly bullshit, in my opinion. And the same thing goes for us as well, by the way. I think Malik Chow should have got a second yellow card and a red card. He's a very lucky boy for a stupid tackle. I thought he did all right today, Malik Chow, in many ways in the game, but he started to give away some silly fouls. He got a yellow card for a silly foul, and then he should have got a second yellow card and a red card for another silly foul. Eddie Howe hooked him off for Jamal Lascelles shortly after that. But in terms of the actual game itself, there wasn't really a great deal to be excited about. Yeah, I really agree with James. VAR is a waste of time. There wasn't really a great deal to be excited about. They look like a tired team. We look like a tired team, even though we've rotated the squad. I thought I was excited when I saw the lineup. I thought, oh, a bit of freshness, a bit of youth. We're really going to do something here. But I generally think they were set up to sit back and absorb everything that Bournemouth threw at them. And they did that. I mean, Chippers is saying there that Chow and Botman were outstanding. I thought they were, absolutely. I'll get on my man of match in a second. But they literally sat back and absorbed all the pressure to try and hit them on the break. But, I mean, why is Joe Willock in this side? I really don't get it. Everything that looked like it was going to be decent in terms of flowing forward from Newcastle United, when it got to Joe Willock, it broke down because his passing is not very good. His ball retention isn't very good. His decision making is poor. There was a few times he broke out wide on that left-hand side and just makes a bad decision or loses the ball. I just don't understand it. A big shout out to Joe Linton. He's been a member for 4 months. Shocking match. Thank you very much, Joe Linton. Maybe you should have played, mate. No, to be fair, Joe Linton's awful on the ball. Not you, the real Joe Linton. But yeah, I mean, for me, I don't really understand. What the game plan was outside of absorbing the play from Bournemouth and then trying to hit them on the break with pace. Why didn't Elanga play if that was the plan? I mean, Elanga came on, I thought he did really well. I thought, he won the ball well, he tackled well, he pressed well, he was pacey, he was dangerous going forward. If you'd started with that lineup anyhow and you'd put Elanga instead of Willock, I think we might win that game. I generally do. I think Willock is so poor and has no place in the starting lineup whatsoever. He's nowhere near starting lineup position. I think that was a sentimental selection by Eddie Howe because he thinks Willock can play himself back into form despite being honking for 3 years. And I just don't think that he can. Shout out to Chippers as well. Chippers has also been a member for 11 months. Thank you very much for that support, Chippers. Botman and Chow need to stay as our centre halves. Absolutely. I mean, that was probably key for me, I think, really. Looking at the lineup, I have seen some hate already for Lewis Miley in the comments, but I don't subscribe to it, to be honest with you. I mean, the kid's 19 years old, right? He's not Gascoigne. He's not Phil Foden. He's not going to come on into a team, drop a shoulder, skin 4 players and set a goal up or score a goal. It's not his game. I actually think sitting in that double pivot midfield, taking the ball off the centre backs, nice little kind of passing movements, a little bit like what Pedri was doing, obviously nowhere near his level. I don't think Lewis might ever get to Pedri's level, in all fairness. I'm not sure many players will. But that kind of a player, I think, is who Lewis Miley probably should become, alongside Sandro Tonali. I think if you put Bruno Guimaraes in an attacking 3 in that midfield with those two sitting in the pivot and Bruno Guimaraes a bit further up the pitch when he can influence the attack and play, I think that's actually quite a good and exciting midfield to go through. I think it's a weird thing with Lewis Miley, the way he's polarizing the fan base right now. Sean Longstaff had the same thing. People loved Sean, people hated Sean, and there was people in the middle who liked Sean but thought at times he wasn't the right player for the right situation. I probably think the same thing about Lewis Miley. Much I like him as a player, sometimes there's not a game for him. Like when we're playing Arsenal at St James's Park in the next Premier League game, that's a physical, demanding game. That's not a Lewis Miley game. That's a Joe Linton game. But today, and Wolves isn't a Joe Linton game. We need somebody on the ball to look after it and try and make something happen. And Lewis Miley's just lacking confidence, not ability. That's the important thing to remember there. Chris is saying that was a hard watch. Absolutely, Chris. Peter was saying we are shite and boring at the moment. I think we're a little bit ineffective, I think is probably the right word I would use. Jessica says shocking match. Don't disagree. Bri says thinks the ref went easy on Chow because he knew the pen should have stood. Yeah, I think you might be right there, mate, in all fairness. Jay has given Eddie a shout. Better game management by Eddie. Yeah, don't disagree. I don't disagree. Dan's given us a bit of Miley abuse. You guys wanted Miley, and he seemed to always go backwards. There was a couple of times he passed forward, to be fair. If you look at the stats, look at Lewis Miley's stats right now. So let's have a look. So 43 out of 50 passes. So 86% passing ratio. 1 key pass. Won 2 out of 2 of his ground duels. Only lost the ball 7 times. 2 tackles and 1 clearance. So it's not a bad midfielder's day work, to be fair. If you look at Sandro Tonali's, for example, 49 out of 55, passes 89%. He had, let's have a look here, he won 5 of his 7 ground duels. Lost the ball 9 times, 3 tackles. Yeah, so very comparable to Sandro, really. But then everyone says he's shit, he's 19. And I can't really get my head around that, to be honest with you. But, he is a very polarizing player. By the looks of it, Big Al is saying that Willock was poor, need to ship him out. Willock should have went to the transfer window for me. Al, I don't disagree at all. I thought he was awful, absolutely awful, as always. And AH is saying he doesn't think he's seen Miley play forward past in 18 months. Well, he has, because he scored the goal against Forest, didn't he, mate? And Bromley as well. Listen, he's a young lad. He's lacking confidence because he's not getting games. If he gets more games, the confidence comes. I thought he was all right today. I thought he was good. He certainly didn't do any worse, than Joe Linton's done in games, but Adam Willock, certainly. But, they'll get away with it in this young lad. We're quite bad at beating young players up at this football club, and I'm not sure why that is the case, but it has been the case for a long time. Lynn says Willock is in the side because Ramsey is injured. He shouldn't be anywhere near the side, Lynn. He's awful. He's absolutely awful. And I do worry that maybe Jacob Ramsey may be another Joe Willock, to be fair. Peter Griffin, is saying Holt and the team as good as Bournemouth in their plays at a point to keep the clean sheet. I'm quite content, to be honest with you. My only gripe is how on earth did J7 and Bruno not play a single fucking minute? I think because they're knackered, Peter, to be honest with you, mate. I think that's the reason why he's not putting them in. Julie J, good shout for Julie. Willock keeps losing the ball. Yep, Willock is not very good on the ball at all. He used to be excellent on the ball, and now he's absolutely appalling. Michael Mick says Hall was disappointing, but he gets a free pass after a long comeback. Yeah, I wanted more from Lewis Hall, I would say, Michael, to be fair. He's a much better player than what he showed. There is the injury recovery, if you want to call it excuse, because there's always going to be an excuse when you've been out injured for as long as he has. But I expected a bit more. I think his touch was way off at times. And I just think he could have been a little bit better. But maybe, again, the games will help him. Andrew's saying that Miley ain't ever going to be the answer. Back passer. Well, he's made his mind up there. I don't agree. I think there's a real player in there. And I think we'll see that again. But, yeah, I'm not sure that I'm going to write the kid off too much. Tyson says get rid of Willock, hopeless now. Willock's had enough chances for me, I think. I think there is time to say someone like Willock should go. Whatever he was, he's lost completely and utterly. And I wouldn't say that Willock is the answer for any questions at all. Looking through some of the comments there. Stephen says, shite game, give him a like, lads. Yes, thank you very much. I would appreciate a like or two, guys. Thank you very much. Anderson, Spawn, Chris Willock was shit. Shouldn't be playing. He should have started Langer. Yeah, I would start Langer. I don't understand why Langer didn't play. I thought he was excellent against Barcelona. He was very unlucky to be hooked. I think if he stays on the pitch, Langer, that might be a different game against Barcelona, because he was absolutely class at times against Barcelona. Probably the most dangerous player we had. Dan saying he's not saying Miley is bad. He just plays everything backwards. Yeah, I agree, Dan. He is a good player, and he is very overcautious sometimes in terms of passing the ball too back. Lynn says Miley follows his manager's instructions, does what he's told. There's probably a bit of truth in that as well. When he first broke on the scene, that was probably as raw of a player as you're going to see, isn't it? And we saw the ability to pass the ball forward. Remember the goal for Isak against Chelsea, Joe Linton against PSG. Even his goal he got against Fulham when him and Bruno had a nice little 1-2 in the edge of the box and tucks it away, a lovely finish. That was probably a raw Lewis Miley. Is it a case of Eddie Howe's coaching some of that out of him? I have said that about Joe Willock as well. When Joe Willock came to the football club, he was an attacking midfielder who could arrive in the box and score goals, and Eddie Howe's coached that out of him. So, Eddie's had a lot of success with coaching players, but not all players. And Willock certainly is an example of that, because I think he's actually made Willock a worse player than he was when he first came to the football club. Andrew is saying Lewis Hall is trying to get cobwebs off. Yeah, we know how good he can be. I don't disagree with that. I think that Lewis Hall is absolutely mint, to be fair. Mick says Miley's too safe, loan him out. Yeah, I suppose there's a little bit of that as well. Should he have been loaned out? If he's going to be fifth choice midfielder, if Ramsey's in and he's fit, maybe should have been loaned out. Send him to someone like Ipswich for a season in the Championship, pushing for a promotion place, playing every week, getting control of the games, using the ball really well, setting up goals, scoring goals himself, come back a better player. Worked for Elliot Anderson. He looked a hell of a better player when he come back from Bristol Rovers, didn't he? And look at him now. He's in the England squad. Sadly, not in a black and white shirt. But, that's up to the management team and Eddie Howe, isn't it? I'm not reading that comment from you, Stephen. You sad Mackham bastard. Did they get a point today? I didn't even finish watching their game, to be fair. Great goal by Matty Cash. What was their score? Yeah, it was ones each. The Mackhams drew with Villa, and I think they're heading for the Champions League because they're the dizzy heights of seventh. It's a long season, lads. Let's just make sure we keep our feet on the ground, shall we? Just look through a few more comments there, guys. I'll finish it up before I look in the comments. Yeah, I agree with you, Big Al. I think Nick looks knackered. He's trying to get used to the kind of pace of the Premier League, isn't he, to be fair? So finishing on the game, we conceded a couple of free kicks towards the end. Quite lucky maybe to go away with the point. Man of the match, I'm going to go for Sven Botman for man of the match. I thought Sven Botman was was excellent today. I thought he was calm. I thought he was cool. I thought he used the ball really well. 8% passing ratio there, 8 clearances, 1 block shot. I just thought he was excellent. I thought he was calm and commanding, and did what he needed to do. Just made everything relaxed back there. I thought him and Chow linked up really well at times. I like the look of them as a centre back pair, and I'd like to see them as a centre back pair and moving on. But even in a back three with Dan Burn, I don't think they look too bad. I think the three of them look quite good together. There is times where Fabian Schär's over playing with the ball can get you in trouble, but I like the looks of certainly of Botman and Chow together. I want to see a run of Tino and Hall at fullback as well. So whether it's in a back four or back five, ideally a back four, because I think we're a little bit more attacking minded. That's my only disappointment and criticism of Eddie Howe today, when it looked like there was nothing happening. Why didn't we switch it up and go to the 4-3-3 and then push for the win? Maybe we could have got the win in the end, but I'd like to see Chow and Botman together as a partnership a lot more. And for me, Botman was my man of the match. Let me know who your man of the match was, guys, in the comments. Terrific says proper Bruce Ball today. That could cure insomnia. No doubt about that at all. Absolutely no doubt about that at all. George is saying, hi everyone, I'm back. Breaking news. My shit was more entertaining in the game. Don't worry though. I washed my hands, wiped my arse in the Sutherland top. Well done, well done. Kath is in the house. Go see Kath, the destroyer of Deeney's. Willock flattered to deceive when he came on from Arsenal back in the Cashley days. Sell him, using money for better effect. We should have sold him this window. There's absolutely no doubt at all. John Cook is saying, wrong team selection today. Yes, rotated against Bradford. Very negative. Willock was dreadful, very disappointing. Massive missed opportunity. I don't disagree with John there. I think for me as well, the players who came in should have really took their opportunities. 2 seconds, grab a little drink there. I feel a bit dry mouth. Probably I fell asleep snoring and drool was coming down my face watching that second half. I wanted the players who came in to make more of their opportunities, the likes of Miley, the likes of Hall. And I just didn't think that they did. I thought it was a very safe, very cautious game. Probably the manager's game plan. A smash and grab. Let's go back with a 1-0 win. I think that was the plan. Very negative. But Bournemouth are a good side. They're sitting in fourth for a reason. Maybe we paid them a little bit too much respect, and we nullified their game, but then also nullified ours at the same time. As piff, poof. Salome Dream says, my God, that's the mouth. Imagine after 4 points. Where's our high dominance? The ball's in, but the high dominance balls in were dreadful. Yeah, you got a 6'6" centre forward, a 6'7" centre half. Botman's like 6'3". Tino's over 6 foot. Nobody's winning a fucking header. I agree with Mark as well. Wissa is a big miss because Wissa can change it up and give you that pace off the shoulder. That's not what Voltemader's game is. I like what I see about Voltemader. I like the touches. I like the ability to knock it around the corners and go again. A couple of little glimpses of quick feet today. But I thought this was quite a physical Premier League game for Voltemader. I thought he struggled a bit today. I didn't think he was particularly great. So I'm not going to run the lad down. It's a brand new season, brand new league for him. It's his second game for Newcastle United, Premier League game, that is. You only got a handful of minutes against Barcelona, where we barely seen the ball for 45 minutes. So I'm not going to run him down. But yeah, I think he's going to have to get the pace with the Premier League quite quickly, to be fair, and just understand that things move a little bit quicker here than doing the Bundesliga. I think that's the only thing that really, really caught him out there. Marky Mark saying very static today, but pleased with the point. I'm pleased with the point. We got a honking record against Bournemouth, Marky. So I think you're absolutely right there, mate. Thunder Truck is saying without Tonali today, we would have been garbage. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that Tonali was excellent again, as always, as he always is. What is this here? RH is saying, I can't compare Sandro's and Miley's stats. Ridiculous. Well, you can, because they're both playing in midfield. I'm not saying Miley's anywhere near as good of a player as Sandro Tonali. What I'm saying is the passing statistics were similar, in terms of that regard. So calm down, mate. Have a cup of tea or something and a fucking biscuit if you can stretch to that as well. Jack saying, had to fight to stay asleep. Well, from sleeping watching that, absolutely bloody terrible. It was really boring, to be fair. Absolutely boring. I can see RH is really annoyed at Lewis Miley. I'm not going to go in and bury a 19-year-old kid, to be fair. I just think that's a little bit overkill, especially when we when we got a point, to be fair. Even Willock as well. I've said enough about Willock there. Willock is poor. I'm just reading through some of your comments here, guys. There's plenty there. Chuck, you're saying it's never a pretty game, this fixture. That's an awful game, this fixture, isn't it? It's like Newcastle's fucking kryptonite, this, isn't it? It really, really is. Dan saying it's 9 a.m. here. How do you think I felt? My God. That's the start of your day in a horrible way, Dad. A horrible way. Yeah, I agree with Cushy. Why was that not a pen? Yes, absolutely nuts. That I don't understand why it wasn't a pen at all. LH just saying Whistler's ruined our season already with the AFCON. Oh my God. You can't go to the AFCON. Just fucking ban him and say he's not allowed to go. That's what it is. Kiwi Tuna said, if we go a goal down the future, I'm struggling to see how we can get back into it. Now the rat has gone. We've lost that clinical edge. You know what? I hate saying that. But I said it against Barcelona that he was a world-class player. He was a world-class player. In a game like that, he's got the ability to pull something out of nothing. You know, weirdly enough, I was watching the Merseyside derby. I know a lot of us in the comments, and maybe I even said, I'm not sure about Jack Grealish in the summer. Jack Grealish has that little X factor that can turn a game like that into a 1-0 win as well. We lack players like that. Even when everybody's fit and all the class lads are playing, we still lack players with creative, sparks that can turn boring 0-0 draws into 1-0 wins. And I think that was evident today. It really, really was evident today, sadly. But as Dan says there, better than a loss. Yeah, that is the turning the frown upside down, my friend. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Because, we could have lost that game quite easily, Just looking through some of your comments there. Just trying to see what's going on here. Loads of comments. Thunder Truck is saying Miley looked more of a number 6 than anything. Can't be judging him too harshly too soon without regular games too. I'm not sure where he plays, Thunder Truck. I think that's the problem. He's played in an advanced midfield role. He's played in a number 6. He's come on the left-hand side of a centre midfield. And the young lad is trying to kind of pin down where he plays. Eddie's kind of using him a little bit in a utility way. I think he looks better in that deep line midfielder role where he can get on the ball and he can pick passes. There was some nice passing from him, simple passing, but quick passing, keeping the ball moving, keeping the play moving. Some nice little link-ups with Lewis Hall, out on the left-hand side as well. The fact that, Chow was giving the ball, Murphy was giving the ball, Tonali and him were knocking the ball between each other. It was nice play, but it just didn't go anywhere. That's the issue, I think, with Miley, is that, and a lot of you guys in the comments who have been more constructive would say the kid has got talent. There is something there, but he just lacks the confidence and the bravery to go, right, you know what? I can see a gap there. I'm going to knock it down through the lines and rely on the pace out wide to go get it. Certainly in Murphy's situation, Willock probably would have lost it anyway. But I think that's where Lewis Miley doesn't have that bit of confidence, arrogance about him, so to speak. You look at someone like Adam Wharton at Palace, who's brilliant. He does that. He looks and he sees the pass and he'll take the chance and he'll go for the pass, whereas Miley won't go for the pass. Now, if that's Eddie Howe telling him not to go for the pass, I don't believe that it is. I think Howe believes in the kid, but he has to have the confidence in himself to make that pass. He's only 19 as well, so we can't put too much on him. But that's where Miley, I think, will struggle to go up to that next level if he doesn't have the confidence to try and play the ball. He's played them before, but when he came in and he had no misconceptions about playing first-team football, he just did it. And that's why it was instinctive, and you can see that that's there. It's up to the coach and staff and Lewis Miley himself to believe in himself enough to get those passes back into his locker that we saw previously. And I think he can if he gets an extended run of games. But, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Mick says he can't do that. He's too slow for it, not ready for the Premier League yet. That's a valid argument. That's a valid argument, Mark. But I think he's possibly stuck in limbo. He's maybe too good for the Championship and not quite ready for the Premier League. So what do you do with him? Do you know what I mean? It's a tricky one. Do you send him to a more competitive league in Europe? I was talking to Mark about Lewis Miley the other day, and Mark said send him to Germany. What they've done with the likes of, the Bellinghams and, people like that. Why not send them there? But we'll have to see what the plan is for Lewis Miley. I think come January, if he hasn't kicked on enough and he hasn't played enough games and he hasn't made enough of an impact, maybe he'll go out on loan, potentially. We don't know. But he's here. He's part of the squad. We've got to try and support him, as well as Joe Willock. We'll try and support Joe Willock. I want Joe Willock to do well. Make no mistake about that. I want all the players to do well. I want Joe Willock to get back to the Joe Willock levels where he was running at teams, tiring them out, whipping in crosses for Bruno Guimaraes, diving headers against Leicester. I want Joe Willock to get back to that level of football. But I think the injuries have curtailed Joe Willock, and his body just won't allow him to do it because he just breaks down. He's too scared to open up his legs and turn the burners on in case he pulls a hamstring or something like that. That's where Joe Willock is in his career right now, and that is not a good place at all to be. I agree with the bangers. Yeah, Walter looked way too isolated today. There wasn't enough around him, was there? That's where you need that kind of number 10 and buzzing in behind him if he's going to be the target man. And that's not really his game, but hold the ball up and pop it off to number 10 and then spin and make you run behind. Murphy was the only one who really got close to him. There was some shades of some nice link up there. But yeah, I think he's going to have to get used to the Premier League. As Droffy's saying as well, Voltmir can't jump for the ball. That looks like a fact. He isn't a centre forward, got great touches, but that's it. Still early days, Droffy, still early days. So we'll not write him off too much, mate. John is saying we've been so pedantic going forward away from home this season. I don't disagree with that, mate. It's been poor performances. That was better than Leeds, but that's a low fucking bar. It really, really is. Yeah, Kit says VAR judged the Voldemort. It was too theatrical. Fuck me, really? Was that the reason? I just thought they said it was appropriate contact, I think is what they said. Dan saying he agrees Willock needs to run hard and not get hurt for a while, but that takes time. He's had 3 years, Dan. He's had nearly 3 years, mate, to prove that his fitness levels are there, and he still hasn't done it. He still hasn't done it for me. Ty saying that shirt pun decision was bullshit. Should have been a pen for the big Yemen porn star. He does look like that, doesn't he? He does look like he's there to fix the fridge. But yeah, I mean, again, like I say, it's only his second Premier League game, guys. He's got 1 goal and 2, if you look at it that way. He could have got a chance today, could have got a penalty, could have put the penalty away. You don't know. But I think that, on another day we get a 1-0 win there, smash and grab, and we're probably talking about this in a very, very different way. But we set up to nullify Bournemouth, but we also stopped ourselves from playing. I think that's the problem. If you're going to do that, you need to be able to play yourself and have an outlet ball, have something to hit them on the break and get the goal, and we just couldn't do it. I agree with Kit. Very good. The Botman managed 95 minutes today in the physical game as well. He didn't pull up, didn't get hurt, played the whole game. Sven Botman is our best centre-half by a mile. There is no doubt about that. And anyone who thinks that is not the case, I think you seriously need to take your blinkers off on some of the other centre-halves. I love Dan Burn. He's a warrior, but he's no Sven Botman. Fabian Schär has also been an amazing signing for Newcastle, but he's not Sven Botman. Malik Chow looks decent as well, but he's not Sven Botman. Sven Botman is the best centre-half we have. And if he's fit, he's got to play. He's got to play because when he plays, we're better. We are better defensively. Julie is saying season hasn't long started. I'm sure we'll improve. We've got to, Julie. We have to play. We have to play. We have to get better. We really, really do. I think fitness is going to be key. Ty thinks the Hall looked good. I think for the spell out that he's had, he probably looked sharper than maybe, a guy who's been out as injured as long as he has maybe would have done. But, that'll come with games. That'll come with games with Hall. I think the more games he plays, the better he'll be. I'll tell you one thing. I didn't think Hall did any worse than what Kieran Trippier has done over the last handful of games. Again, there's a little bit of a blinker on with Trippier as well because of his status as this, first signing, the Iron Man type signing of the club. And he's been magnificent for the club as Trippier. His legs have gone. He's old. He makes mistakes. People are physically targeting him now. Teams are targeting him now as a weakness. You look today, Semenyo was right and he was left, and he was left, and he was right, and he was through the middle because you couldn't get any change. And you've got to remember that as well. No matter how boring that 0-0 game looks, Semenyo, their best player, one of the best players in the league, didn't really do anything because our fullbacks and our centre halves were in a decent shape to keep them out, really. So the more they play together, that back four, I think the better they'll become. I really do. Andrew's saying, he says Trippier has lost it. I think Trippier's still got something, Andrew. I'll make that clear. But he can't play 3 games a week. Certainly when the Champions League's on the horizon. I was just looking at our fixtures coming up there. So the next few games that we have, we've got Bradford City in the Carabao Cup midweek, Wednesday, quarter to 8. We'll be here for a live post-match reaction to that as well. I think there'll be a massive change of personnel again in that game. We'll see some faces we don't normally see. Then it's Arsenal on the Sunday. I will be at that game live, so Mark will be on post-match for you on that one. But that's going to be a massive test, and I think all the big lads will come back in. Bruno will be back in for that. Joe Linton will be back in for that. But that back four for me, I would keep the back four. I really, really would. I'd have Tino, Chow, Botman, and Hall. I would keep that back four against Arsenal, but he probably won't do that. He'll probably go to a 5 at the back like he's done today, but Fabian Schär will come back in potentially with Botman and Byrne. And he'll probably bring Trippier back in for his experience as well. But these are tough games. We've got Arsenal. Then we've got the Champions League game away at Union Saint-Gilloise. And then we've got Nottingham Forest, who are a good team, but they pulled the trigger on Nuno and they haven't quite looked the same since that. It'd be a good time to play for us before they even get a rhythm or a manager bounce. We could really get a result there. We've got Brighton away after that. So these are tough fixtures for Newcastle coming up. Howe's got to use the squad and he's got to make sure he rotates the squad, to get the best out of the players. And I think that's the reason that both Bruno and Joelinton didn't get any game time today. I think Howe thought he had enough on the pitch to get a result, and he maybe did. But yeah, I think you can't play these lads every single week. As Julie says there, Trippier's 35, he'd be hanging his boots up soon to become the coach. That's what I'd have done with him, Julie. I'd have made him like a player coach, kept him in the playing squad, put him on part of the coaching duty, and have Tino and Hall as the starting fullbacks, and then maybe break Trippier out like a fine bottle of whiskey when company comes over for Champions League games against Barca and teams like that, whereas experience still counts for something. I just think the physical demands of football, I just think that is going to be a real problem for Trippier the older he gets, kind of going through this season. Again, I want nothing but good things for Trippier, in the black and white shirt, but I think his time is maybe coming to an end as a starter, a key level starter, but I think we'll have to wait and see how the season plays out. Antastic is saying, cheers, Chris Mara. Cheers for keeping it realistic and critiquing things as they were. You summed it up nice. Thank you very much, buddy. Really appreciate that. I will always say that. I will always say what I think. I won't shy away to follow the trend or to have more people clicking and liking me because I'm saying everybody's awesome and wonderful, even when they're not. I'm going to criticize players if I thought they were poor. I'm going to praise players if I thought they were good. I didn't think Miley was bad today, but I thought he was safe. I thought he was a bit too safe again. And that's the bit that upsets me about Miley, is that I know the ability's there. The confidence needs to be unlocked to do what he does. Tonali's brilliant still. Very, very good. He's a very, very good player. And even in shit games like that, Tonali still shines through as a good player, as does Sven Botman. They're class acts, real class actors players. Nick Voldemort, doesn't look like he's up to the Premier League yet, but it's only his second game. He will get there. It will take him time. He will get there. Murphy's probably the best winger we've got right now in terms of creating assists and goals. That's the truth. Him and Elanga. Elanga is the biggest threat with his pace. And I think I would have personally had Elanga on the left and Murphy on the right today is how I would have went down. I thought Barnes, again, was pretty ineffective when he come on. Bad touches, miscontrolling, running into dead ends, not really doing it. And I love Barnes as a player. I love Harvey Barnes' ability to tuck inside and smash a raker in the back of the net. There's not many players that can do that in our squad. I said he was the second best finisher at the club behind Isak last season. He's arguably the best finisher at the club right now, but he's not impacting games. He's just not good enough right now. And Anthony Gordon has had more red cards than goals since February last year. Regardless of the pace and the endeavour and the effort, we need more end product from Gordon. So it is concerning. That's why Murphy probably walks into most teams, I think, because you want your most impactful, effective players, for me. And that's what I would say. Mick agrees with me. Elanga on the left and Murphy on the right. Absolutely. I would say that. And P. James says Willock is no longer Premier League football. I think there's a bit of truth in that. I think Willock could easily go down to the Championship and try and rebuild himself back up again. Magpie 50 saying, Chris, we played good in defence, but Nick needs time to adjust to the Premier League. Absolutely. You can't tell me Wissa, you can tell Wissa was a big miss. I think we do need another striker in January and Willock out. Manu in. I would like Kobe Manu, I must admit. Very good player. Could give us some legs in that midfield, could give us some energy. Again, I was watching the Merseyside derby. I thought Dewsbury Hall offered a lot going forward, that energy from midfield. Conor Gallagher was one that was mentioned to us in the pre-season. I like Gallagher. If we'd signed someone like Conor Gallagher with his energy and his ability to go box to box, then Miley could have went on loan and probably would be having blinders week in, week out in the Championship right now and then come back that was a better player. But it didn't happen. We signed Jacob Ramsey for 40 million quid and now he's injured, and let's hope he doesn't stay injured, to be fair. So Andrew says, whoa, really on Gordon. That's damning. I like Gordon as a player, Andrew, but he needs to do more. He needs to do more, mate. He's very, very, what's the right word? he's a likable lad, Gordon, and he gives it all. But I think we need some more on product. Yeah, that was the start. It was actually credit to the Geordie Journos and Dom. If you haven't watched the Geordie Journos already, guys, go check them out on YouTube. They're absolutely class. I love the three lads. They're great. Jordan, Liam, and Dom. They're excellent. Very honest. Very from the hip, certainly Liam, very, very similar to me in terms of not scared to give his opinion on things at all. But yeah, Dom pulled that style out as well. So a massive shout out to the Geordie Journos. They're awesome. Go and check them out, guys. We've got Leo in the chat, the Man U fan. I bet you're buzzing, Leo, after that result against Chelsea. What result that was for Manchester United. I'm not sure it turns you around, but a great result nonetheless, mate. So well done. This is Cindy said, Chris, United have blocked any more until next summer, mate. I don't know what that means, mate, but is that no more games? No more games. Graham says, same old story, Chris. We need goals. Yep, absolutely. We do need goals. We do need goals. But another one from Stuart saying, sorry, but Miley is just not switched on enough, takes no risks. When you see him doing that alongside Tonali, it's embarrassing. I mean, most of our midfielders can't hang with Tonali, Stuart, but I see your point. I see your point. Oh, sorry. Leo says you're miles off. I beg your pardon, man, miles off. You certainly are. You certainly are. For a Manchester United team, my God, still the worst I've ever seen. But yeah, I think, like I say, we're going to 0-0 draw today. This is a fixture where we normally get nothing. So we've got a point out of it. So if you want to kind of sum it up really sensibly, then you say, we've got a point. It's not a bad point. It's a ground where we normally come back with my tails between my legs. But this time we've got a point. Was the game there for the taking? Yeah, probably. Did we lack quality in key moments? Yes, absolutely. And if we had those quality in key areas at the key moments, we probably would have won that game and come back with 3 points and said, hey, that's an Eddie Howe masterclass. But it didn't happen, unfortunately, but it's still a point on the board. We're sitting in 13th, not where we really want to be, but we didn't lose the game. I think we need a bit more confidence in this team, a bit more bravery, to take chances, look for difficult passes. Like we talked about with Lewis Miley, he's not the only one. There's more established pros in that lineup who aren't taking risks and gambles either, and they all need to just take a little bit more of a gamble, a little bit more of a risk and try to maximize opportunities. You looked at how we played against Barcelona. We created loads of chances, but we didn't have a centre forward. If we'd had a centre forward in the pitch with those chances created, we could have won that game. We could have bounced into this game full of confidence. But that wasn't to be. So there is some work to be done. Absolutely. I agree with Tony there. No midfield, the disconnect from the midfield to the forwards. Absolutely. That's why I'd like to see a double pivot with those two and Bruno pushed further up the park, but it is a gamble. Can Miley be that player in that double pivot and play week in, week out? Will he get better? Or will he regress? Will he get worse? I don't know. They're questions for Eddie Howe to answer, but nobody puts them to him. Not many journalists actually do put questions like that to him, because they're all very much enamored and kind of, infatuated a little bit, smitten with Eddie Howe. And he is. He's a very charming, articulate, intelligent bloke. And the press seem to dote on him in those press conferences and don't ask difficult questions, about what's the plan for Miley's development, for example. He's played today, but beforehand, what was the question there? Why didn't you start with Nick Falkenberg? I know they did ask him that, but they kind of went a little bit easy on him on it, and said, that's a bit of a danger. Why didn't you do that? I agree with Mickey there. The pressure on Whistler to hit the ground running when he gets back is going to be immense. And he doesn't need that, Mickey. He doesn't need that pressure. He's, as Shearer says, pressures for tires. He might thrive on it. He might take it in and drink it deep and say, fuck it, bring it on and come out and score shitloads of goals. And we'll be like, oh, he's mint, but yeah, there is a lot of pressure on Johan Visser when he comes back. And it's a shame that is the case. I just hope that Nick Falkenberg can get himself a goal against Arsenal. That might be a game that maybe suits him a little bit better, get players around him. But he did look incredibly isolated today. And I think he needs more support. He absolutely needs more support. P. James is saying, it will take Big Nick months to get properly up to speed and integrate in our way of playing. That's why we needed Wisser. Then ideally Nick would have started many games, but alas, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think Wisser was the plan to come straight in, and then we would have had a similar style of play to when we played under Alexander Isak. I think when I did the video, you looked at the heat maps. They were pretty much identical in terms of where they are on the pitch. By the way, it was great to see Isak do fuck all in the Merseyside derby as well. I'm going to enjoy that for as long as I can until his fitness comes back to play and he starts banging loads of goals. I'm going to enjoy him doing fuck all in the red shirt for quite a while. But going back to Wisser, if Wisser had been fit, he would have walked straight into this team and he would have gave us the similar style of play, and Voltemeda could have came in gradually, as P. James is saying there, but it's not meant to be. But I think he's done all right, Valdermeda, you know, for a brand new league, you know, a 23-year-old lad, a new team, a new style of play. I think he's done all right. But we need more than all right, don't we? We need quality. We need real quality, and that's what we're looking for. But yeah, I think that's us pretty much wrapped up, guys, for today. Not much to talk about in terms of that game. So we've done well to get as long as we have. Oh my God, that is a dreadful start by Robert. The XG of 0.14. If that doesn't some last on match of the day, I don't know what does. That game certainly will be. There is no doubt about it at all. But yeah, I think for me, like I say, it's a good point earned, but it could have been more. And I'm a little bit disappointed that we were a little bit braver on the day, took more chances, and maybe try to get a goal. But we should have got a pen. So yeah. What we got here? Sorry, Dan is saying no discussing the Bournemouth disallowed goal. Oh yeah. I nearly forgot all about that because the rest of it sent me to sleep. I think Chow dilly-dally with the ball, didn't he? And they put it away just marginally offside. Very, very close. Could have been given one way or the other. It was a bit of a warning shot. I think it was Brooks, wasn't it, that got the goal? I think it was. A little bit of a warning shot in terms of how lucky we were. Dan, absolutely very lucky not to have conceded that goal. And that is a concern because better teams will punish you for that. Arsenal up next in the Premier League, they will punish us for sloppy defending like that. We can't keep fucking around with the ball. We need to be a little bit better than that. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Harun says blatantly off. Yeah, it was blatantly off, to be fair. And thank God he was off. A shin off, says Dan, absolutely. But thankfully, we live to fight another day, guys. But that's me all wrapped up for today. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in the comments. Really appreciate that. Remember, if you haven't already, smash a like and subscribe. You know, come and join the channel. It's all free content. I think we are 11,600 subscribers, but Mark is off producer duty today, and I can only see one button, which is 11.5. So we're actually 11.6 in a bit. But come and help us get to 12,000. I've got a mint prize when we get to the 12,000 subs. So you guys can be in it to win it as well. Sorry, Tony, I agree with that. Sloppy passing has to end 100% because we are not very good at the minute. But thank you very much, everybody, for the comments. Thank you very much for that, Leo. Really appreciate that, buddy. And thanks for subscribing. Recommend us to family and friends. You can be a member if you want to. It's all down there. We'll be back with some more content next week in the lead up to the Bradford game. We'll do a preview. We'll also be back live for post-match for the Bradford game. Have a crack Sunday, whatever you're doing, morning, afternoon, evening. Get yourself a takeaway, get yourself a beer, go to the boozer, whatever you're doing. Have a belt there. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Celebrate. They have done it.